Hi, this is Tisch Aitken, and it is May 28th, 2025. We are in Gemini season, and we had that magical new moon in Gemini on May 26th, which really gave us a preview of the next few years, because we're in Gemini season right now, and Mercury, which rules the sign of Gemini, is currently in Gemini as well, making good aspects in its dignity, very social energy. And over the weekend, Saturn, which is how you anchor and structure your goals, how you mature and how you act responsibly, entered the Cardinal fire sign of Aries, where it will remain through September 1st of this year. It returns to Aries on February 13th of next year and will be in Aries on and off through April 12th of 2028. And this is a new chapter. And the new moon is giving us a preview of what's ahead, because Uranus, which is the great awakener and the higher octave of Mercury, will enter the sign of Gemini from July 7th through November 6th of this year. And then it returns next year on April 25th and will be there for several years. And this is going to be really exciting for opening up different ways of thinking, different ways of connecting and learning, medical advances. This is going to be very exciting energy because Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, and it's going to be entering Gemini, which is a fellow air sign. And the two will form a trine later in the summer. It'll perfect end of July, early August. But next year, and going into following years, we're going to have Neptune in Aries, closely followed by Saturn, forming what's known as a sextile, an aspect of opportunity, to both Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini. And we're really building a new dream. Fire and air work very well together. And right now, we just are still in the aftermath of that new moon in Gemini. And again, it did trine Pluto, which is giving us a preview of Uranus and Gemini, which will definitely be trining Pluto. And a trine is when 2 points are 120 degrees apart, and that's a flow of energy. And next year, we're going to have a magical triangle where Uranus and Pluto will be 120 degrees apart, and both will be forming what's known as a sextile, and that's also an aspect of opportunity, meaning they're both 60 degrees apart from Neptune and Aries, and that is going to be very, very magical. So right now, this is a time for networking and connecting. This is a time for marketing yourself and learning. Gemini is very much about social and curious energy, being curious about learning and connecting with others, getting involved in your local environment. It deals very much with connection. And the thing too is that we have Saturn, which is technically in its fall position. It does not like being in Aries. It's exalted in the opposite sign, which is the sign of Libra. However, this round is being informed by Neptune, which takes 165 years to orbit. Neptune is now in Aries, and it will be there through October 22nd of this year. And then it comes back next year on January 26th. And Saturn and Neptune are dancing closely together. They're both going to retrograde in the month of July. Neptune retrogrades on July 4th, and it's going to retrograde at 2 degrees and 11 minutes of the Cardinal fire sign of Aries, and Saturn retrogrades on July 14th. And it retrogrades at 1 degree and 55 minutes of Aries. So they're going to be close they're going to be very close, But next February, on February 20th of 2026, they're going to meet up at 0 degrees and 45 minutes of Aries. And that impacts everybody. That is known as the world point. Just got verification on that, confirmation. It's going to hit all of us. And this is really about ushering in a major new beginning. But recognize that Aries is very passionate and it's impatient. It's ruled by Mars, which is why I feel that Saturn is not exalted in Aries, because Mars rushes too much. Saturn slows things down. Saturn wants you to be strategic and really take accountability of what you've achieved, what you need to improve, and what you want to build and mature into. And again, there's a lot of vulnerability around ego and self, because Saturn could be very critical. So you could be critical of yourself in moving ahead. Maybe you're giving yourself a hard time. Neptune rules the sign of Pisces in modern astrology. And Neptune is blurring the boundaries that Saturn tries to enact. And so therefore it's saying, hey, Saturn, be a little less tough on yourself. Yes, definitely acknowledge what you need to build, how you need to grow as an individual. But being too harsh on yourself is not going to give you that courage and passion to move forward. It may hold you back where you feel like, I can't do this. And also recognizing that Saturn was at a very difficult place of the zodiac. Even though it's technically in its fall position in Aries, I find it very difficult in Pisces, particularly the last decan of Pisces, the last 10 degrees, and particularly the last 5 degrees, where it will be transiting at the end of this year, early next year, and where it recently was transiting. And we have to all recognize that both Saturn and Neptune will be returning to the last degrees of Pisces before they really begin that new story in February of next year. And this is where, again, Neptune is saying, hey, I'm the planet of imagination and creativity. You don't like who you are right now? Well, you got to do the work. You can't just magnetize and dream and, join the gym and not work out, or take the class and not study. But don't go by the fact that last year you joined the gym and didn't work out, or 2 years ago you joined that marketing class and you didn't study. Am I projecting? I don't know. Okay? Go by the fact that you've done this before and you can do it again, and guess what? It's a new beginning. This is a new time. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and we have both planets. Neptune takes 165 years to transit. It moves very slowly. Saturn is more frequent. It takes between 28 and a half to 30 years. We generally ascribe a 29-year cycle because it's not exact. So the last time Saturn was transiting in Aries was between April 7th of 1996 through October 25th of 1998, and then it was there again through February 28th of 99. So it was there from 96 through 99. I'm getting a little confusing. So let's just say April 7th of 1999 on and off through February 28th of 1996 through February 28th of 1999. And that was the last time Saturn was in Aries. Many of you were around, and some of you were really young or were not around at that time. But this theme, this story will be different. There will be certain things. Saturn is a cycle that hopefully we're around the next time it's in a sign we can gauge. Saturn rules time, and it's very conscious of the micro steps you take for building something long-term or permanent. And this round is very different because Neptune is also transiting in the sign of Aries. And again, the two are converging right at the world point, the very first degree of the zodiac, saying we're all feeling vulnerability around self and ego. A lot of us have been knocked off our game. A lot of us have lost a lot of resources or people we love, or our sense of ego. And dynamic energy, and yet we can come together, and we're in a very alienated time. But my feeling is that to really heal together, and this is where Saturn and Neptune are coming on the world front, saying we all need to heal. Neptune is about healing. It's about compassion and love. It's in the sign that can be very selfish at times. In Pisces, it's about selflessness. Aries is about self. Very different words, very different meanings. But to heal ourselves, we have to heal others, and we have to love others. We have to focus on ourselves to heal, but we also have to not just think of ourselves, if that makes sense. And we can't be totally alienated. There will be incredible technological advancement, but still, Uranus and Gemini is saying think locally, if I can say it. Think locally. Pluto and Aquarius is saying think globally. Let's do both. We can reach infinite possibility and people and opportunities, but we also need to have our local places where we have our mom and pop shops, where we meet with friends for dinner and coffee and tea and hang out and enjoying nature, which is very organic, because we don't want to live in a completely inorganic world. And Uranus and Taurus has been teaching us that since it delved in and dove into the sign of Taurus on May 15th of 2018. And now we're getting a preview of the intellectual possibility that's going to help us build a whole new universe. And that begins on July 7th. So, and we haven't even gotten into the fact that Jupiter is going to enter Cancer on June 9th, which I'll talk about more in the near future. That's going to be awesome. Jupiter's exalted in Cancer. It's very abundant and prosperous. But for now, think like a Gemini. Communicate, network, learn, and get involved with your local community. Take care.